Hi there, this is Sam with this week's Living Working Abroad vlog, lifting lockdown. So even the UK is beginning to lift the lockdown on Corona now, and we see it around the world as tentative steps are moved forward. There's still panic mode, there's still a very contagious virus, but at the end of the day, as we know, it's still, Corona is a version of the common cold. It's not a flu virus, it's a common cold virus. But it has got some nasty consequences. So it's taken many of our people earlier than their times, but we've learned to live with that. And when we're lifting lockdown, what are the impacts for expats living and working abroad? So obviously any business living and working abroad has got to be practicing the social distancing rules. So the most effective medicine against any virus like Corona is soap and water, washing your hands, keeping distances, so not touching public surfaces and keeping those surfaces clean. So businesses now have to get into effect, and they can talk as much as you like about how complicated it is, but it's not very complicated. You need to have markers within your public areas to show distance, and that can just be tapes on the floor, measures on the floor. So show people 2 meters. In China, they've even produced carpets with 2 meter squares on it, so people can see where their perspective are. So it might need to reorganize the office, might need some markers down, and make sure everybody's got wipes, antibacterial wipes and alcohol, masks and gloves as they're needed. And of course the most sensible thing is anybody who's got a cold, a bug or flu, not to go and visit. I can remember only last year somebody coming back to the UK and sitting in front of me, it's full of cold, I'm not working today, that's why I've come to see you. Thank you. That was before Corona, but it's still, this is how bugs pass on. You have to keep the surfaces clean that you touch by not touching them and wiping them down. So carry your antibacterial wipes around with you and keep it clean and keep it safe, and then we can get back to work and learning how to live with COVID. But what about for expats that are locked down in the wrong country? So for UK expats that are locked down in the UK, some big issues here on their tax residence. How did they maintain the non-resident tax status while being in the UK under lockdown? Well, the UK introduced regulations and laws around coronavirus 2020, which actually meant that it's not an advice, it's actually the law that you had to stay at home and take reasonable precautions to protect yourself. You'd actually need a good excuse to leave home. So any expat living and work locked down in the UK was immediately offered by the HMRC the opportunity to use being locked down in the UK as a valid reason for claiming a reasonable excuse and 60 days additional time in the UK because their employer ordered them to stay there, or the law required them to stay there, or there was no effective way of them travelling around. So some countries, you've been able to continue to travel in and out of the UK, bizarrely. That's stopping from the 1st of June, and you've got to have quarantine periods from that, which will make it even more difficult. But putting that to one side, you haven't been able to get into other countries. So there's a bit of change for the UK. So some countries haven't had any flights, and Cyprus, for example, there's no commercial flights until after the 9th of June. And so depending on what the country is, there's a reasonable excuse and reason that you are locked down, or that your employer requires you to work from home. But even if you're able to work from home and you're concerned about your own health, that is a valid excuse under the various regulations to say exceptional circumstances and claim those 60 days in the UK. One other point that the UK government instructed was for UK nationals to come home and to only undertake essential foreign travel. So again, it reinforces any claim for exceptional circumstances, which would allow up to 60 additional days. Now, the second benefit is that the lockdown started before the end of the tax year. So if you're already in the UK in March, you've got 60 exceptional days for last tax year and up to 60 for the current tax year. And that 60 days ends around about the 5th of June. So after that, you're on your normal time spending in the UK. So at some point between the start of June and 3 months later, at the end of August, you're going to have to relocate and get back to your country of tax residence and be working outside the UK. So if you've normally got 90 days in the UK, you could spend 150, 90 plus 60 this year, and you could be okay. That could be concurrent from the 6th of April when you were in lockdown through to the end of your 90-day period, or you could leave as soon as you're able to and still travel back in for your 90 days for the remainder of the tax year. This is what's been offered by the HMRC at the moment. Obviously, how they finally implement that is open to interpretation. What they're saying today is different next year, but if you're taking reasonable steps and there's good valid reason, the law is on your side, that you have to take the best, consider the best interest for yourself and your family, and what your employers like, the difficulty of travelling, and that's all good reason to claim the extra 60 days lockdown in the UK. If you want any more discussion around tax residency issues, contact us at proactpartnership.com and we'll help you out on that, to fill UK returns in for 1920 and for 2021, and look ahead to the future, to managing your tax affairs living and working abroad. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you again next time.